We're rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Nerdbuzzed.
Nerdbuzzed doesn't condone the consumption of alcohol by any persons under the age of 21. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome to Nerdbuzzed, the podcast where we talk about all the nerdy stuff that we care about and drink a cool, frosty brew while we're doing it. I'm your host, Marcus Ellinger, and with me as always,
Jeremiah Johnson.
and out of the intern camp,
Jack is drinking a cool, frosty ball. Haha. Get your kicks while they last, because it's the last time.
And we get double kicks because today he brought blue balls.
Blue balls.
Yeah.
It's time to end the balls legacy. If you haven't been watching, I've just been drinking.
You've had
This
so many
one-
balls in your mouth. Like,
Yeah.
How many episodes now? I'm
three.
amazed you can
This
still
is the
talk.
fourth, and I think it would equate to 8 balls.
Yeah.
Wow.
The magic 8. The magic 8 ball.
Right.
And we did
six,
our Halloween bonus episode, which is also part of this week's episodes.
Yeah.
So we're just going
We're
to
just
keep
cramming
drinking our
episodes out
finger gun.
today.
Yep.
I totally sold you Rear Thunder there, but
It's fine.
you okay with it?
It's
Or
fine.
good with it.
you'll bring it up later? Don't worry about it. I'll bring it up later.
Yep.
So I've played South Park. Okay, first off, we're still playing Metal Gear Solid until the next free games come out. And it's awesome. It's amazing. Download it. Play it. Everybody should play it. One of the best games ever. One of the best game series ever.
Yes.
Note to what the episode's going to be about. But before we get into all that, we should promote ourselves. So shrink the screen. Please hit subscribe. It really means the world to us. It really does matter. We need 100 subscribers to get our own channel.
Yes.
It really does help us out. Please do it. Smash it, smash it, smash it.
Destroy it.
That's right. And then you can also go to patreon.com/nerdbuzzed for $35 or more. I would like to stress or more. You can get a Nerdbuzzed t-shirt. Here's one right here. Here's one right here.
This is
Plus some stickers and a magnet. $35 or more. Go do it, people. And also you can go to nerdbuzz.com where you can watch any episode or listen to them 100% free as opposed to...
Any other percentage of free.
That's right. 'Cause
Didn't steal us thunder that time.
No, I didn't. Try not to, but it just happened.
No, that's stealing my thunder. That's my clapping monkey.
Just need to get you a little set of symbols.
You know what I'm talking about? The little monkey.
Yeah, no,
it's
I
a
know what you
monkey,
mean,
yeah.
with the symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I read you.
Dingus.
Yeah. So this episode, we are going to talk about South Park because I've played it. I played the new game, The Fractured Butthole. Stole the
Everything's
thunder from
about
you that time.
Marcus.
It is. It's true. It's my goddamn show. Our show. Okay.
you.
Jack's included also.
Yes.
There's a three-way
Special
hour.
report.
Well, remember, we made it
I know.
official.
I know.
Yeah, it's true. I know. Sometimes we make bad decisions.
Just like my mom and dad.
Yeah.
We weren't gonna go there, but since you did,
Thank you.
I know. Stealing your thunder.
So I'm gonna dive into a little bit what I think of South Park, The Fractured Butthole, and I'm gonna try to avoid a whole bunch of spoilers when I do that. But I think that's going to be a good segue into what makes a good sequel and what our favorite sequel games are, and just what it means in general to be a sequel. I guess it doesn't even really have to be a game, but just what is
Alvin and the
a good
Chipmunks,
sequel.
The Squeakquel, and Road Trip. Best films of all time.
I think purely based on the names.
okay,
Right?
Road
Yeah.
Trip was far superior to Road Trip.
No, he means the
Road Chip.
Alvin and Road Chip
Yeah, I
and
know.
the Squeakquel.
I know.
Yeah, you just want to say the name. It's like
I
Fractured
thought you were being
Butthole.
serious for a second. I'm like, Jeremiah, I will stab you with this.
That's the tricky thing with Jays. You can't. It's hard to decipher between when he's joking and when he's being serious. You've got such a stone face.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes it's like you're trying to convey a joke, and I'm like, there it is. Okay, it is a joke.
Okay.
I think it's a talent in a way, right? You don't even let us know.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like you could be like a communist dictator and be like, this is the funniest thing. They totally believe it. Right?
Okay. If I was a communist dictator, I would totally do that solely for my enjoyment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. See, there it goes
Uh-oh.
again. You're just good at it. No, I'm jealous. Okay, that's what I'm getting to. You made me say it. I was trying to avoid that, but I'm jealous.
Smell it. Whoa. Oh,
We already
you've been
drank it.
drinking.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think of your balls? Smell your balls. Get a good whiff.
It smells like it smells like the ginger one.
Does it smell like guarana? I'm wondering if they
I
all
think so.
taste the same because of the guarana.
Oh God, what? No, it smells like one of the first ones again. No, it's that weird. I can't put a finger on it. It's like weird.
It's obviously
ice cream.
really big.
It's almost like orange sherbet, or like sherbet-based ice cream.
Passing around. We all gotta see if we smell sherbet now. Sherbet or sherbet?
Sorbet, whatever. I don't even.
Yeah, right. Or sorbet. I don't know who translates it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I see that.
Okay, that's what I was trying to think. In the first episode, I had balls.
And medicine.
Yeah, and medicine.
Yeah.
This is healthy for you. All right. Well, maybe I'll just cheer
No, it's
myself.
just energy-packed balls.
Yeah. Well, no, we're gonna cheers with you, dude. We still
All right.
cheers. We just don't
Yeah,
talk
sure,
about our
I'm
beer. We already did on
crying a
the
little bit.
Halloween episode, which everybody watched. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
So, to all the nerds,
Through all
Through
the
all
fuzz.
bottoms up.
Let's
get
get
nerd
nerd
buzzed. Clankety clankety. Right.
To be clear, though,
No.
I do like this beer.
I think it is good beer. Oh, he's so happy about his drink,
No.
and you have a whole nother one.
No.
I think it's okay though that
But
you're
say,
not
I-
a fan
I-
of drinking balls.
That is the only balls I've had, and it wasn't that bad.
It's bad.
It's the guarana, I bet. Can you get balls without guarana?
I want to find this company. I want to find their warehouse building, and I want to burn it to the ground. That is
Just go
That's
around.
not a threat. That's not a threat. Please don't sue me.
Oh, wow.
Sue me with what money you have. Who is buying this? Other for the namesake.
Sue him, not Nerdbuzzed.
Yeah, not us. We're not part of it.
At
I'm gonna eat candy
Nerdbuzzed.
too because you guys are always doing
Thanks.
it. What a dick.
All right.
See, we do it off camera
what she said.
beforehand.
Yeah.
So you're not making all the noise and drawing attention
Oh,
to
this
it.
is my first time. I'm learning. Okay,
Here.
guys.
Feel better?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, South Park. I put a vote out on Twitter.
Okay.
Put a poll on there. Asked people, what's the better South Park? The Stick of Truth or the Fractured But Whole? We had 21 people vote. Awesome. That's our best poll we've ever put out there. Thank you, everybody, for voting. It's awesome. We had 81% of the people say Fractured But Whole is better.
Really?
Yep. And
Wait, did these-
19%.
Are you sure they all played it? Like, or did they just say like, "Oh, that's a funny name"?
You know, I didn't go into detail of like interrogating everybody that voted, so I don't really know. But I'm assuming they've played it, right? Why would you vote if not? If you didn't play it and you voted, shame on you. Okay. But the Fractured Butthole, 81%, which leaves, because we're good at math, 19% of the people that liked the Stick of Truth better. That's not how it started, though. When I first put it up there, it was overwhelmingly the Stick of Truth, and then suddenly the Fractured But Whole just started to like landslide and take it over. And that was like after the first day. So it's kind of interesting how that happened. It was almost like these people that were like, "You're wrong. This one's better," right? Which was kind of interesting that's how it happened. There were a couple people on Facebook that chimed in and also agreed that the Stick of Truth is better. That's my personal favorite. But they were not enough people to break the landslide. So we still got to give it up as far as the poll goes to the Fractured But Whole. I disagree with that, but the people have spoken, and that's what they say. I think I beat the game. There's a couple things I can go back and do.
Wait, already?
Yeah, no, I played it all. I beat it,
God.
so I can totally give you.
Or you can beat Stick of Truth that fast, too. They're
Yeah,
not
they're
big
about.
games.
If you just powered through it and didn't really care to like find everything, I even went through and like tried to. They have their spoof on Instagram, so you become Coonstagram is what it is. So you become friends with everybody. The more Coonstagram followers you have, it's kind of like the thing that you do in it, as opposed to just finding friends in the first game.
Yeah.
So, but very much the same equivalent. And I think I found most of them. There's a couple little things I didn't do, but I can go back and finish them. One of them I couldn't do until I beat the game anyway. But I've totally ran the end credits. I beat the game.
Nice.
It's about. I think you could beat it you could probably beat the game in like 15 hours if you just didn't care.
That's
ran
pretty
through
decent.
it, right? Yeah. If you're a South Park fan, it's awesome. I really want to stress that the game is good. I'm gonna definitely talk about some reasons why I think the first one is better than this one, but this game is a good game. I don't want to. It's gonna come across, I'm sure, sounding that I don't like this new game, but I do like it, and I did enjoy playing through it. I don't regret the purchase at all. I think if you buy the first wave, like printing of the game, you're going to get the first one for free.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest incentive about buying the game is that you get the package deal.
Totally worth it for me since I dumped off my PlayStation 3 and all my stuff there. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you get to relive it on your PS4.
Yes.
Right? Super, super cool. It's really, really rare that we get a game for free. Games are all about all these little extras they can do to steal our money, right?
Yep.
So I started to look into why do I like the first one better than this one. And as far as the development of the game and how all that process went, the biggest glaring thing I could find that maybe points to that direction is that the first game was written by both Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Okay.
And this game is only written by Trey Parker. There's other people that are also involved, but out of the pair of them, only Trey Parker was a writer. So Matt Stone was totally there. He voices his characters. He's definitely has to be involved with a lot of the process. But he's not a...
Did you find a reason
writer.
why he wasn't part of it?
I did.
Was
Couldn't
it like
find a reason.
dialogue writing? Or just like...
They just say credit who... I don't know what that actually entails, as being credited as being a writer for the game. But Matt Stone is not credited with being a writer on The Fractured Butthole.
Okay.
So I don't know if that skews the balance of it. I've always felt that Matt Stone and Trey Parker are an awesome team because they balance each other.
Yeah.
So which I think it's, if you've ever seen them in an interview or something, there's a lot of things that maybe like Trey will say, and then Matt will kind of come in as like, what he means is, and kind of like balance him out, right? And not make, he doesn't sound like quite the a-hole, but but I think that element is crucial to South Park. So you couldn't have South Park without either of them, right? Like they're so important to South Park.
Do you think the writing, like the actual writing, does suffer?
It's different. I think the best way I can describe it is that it is different. There's things about it that I like better. You got to dabble a little bit, and and when you'd mentioned like the control is a little, things are a little smoother.
Control's way smoother. It looks a little bit prettier.
Yeah.
It really felt like the same game.
Yes.
Just initially playing it. One of the things I noticed from the first one was the background music was like just there all the time. It doesn't seem to be quite as present in this one. I don't know if that really makes sense or not, but
I think it totally does. It's something that I kind of noticed was that I restarted the first one just because when I beat the second one, I had this kind of like lackluster feeling a little bit about it. I still enjoyed it, but I came away from it like there's something missing from this that the first one had. And so I fired up the first one again just to get a basic comparison.
I haven't gotten there yet because I'm very early in the game. So,
well, and even as soon as you fire up the first game, there's such an awesome like when Cartman's telling you that he's the wizard and what's going on with the kingdoms and like that whole like epic kind of build up to everything, and like there's the new kid in town and we must get them before the drow elves get them, and like whatever, like that whole intro that happens is so epic and awesome. And there really isn't that in this new one. The new one,
but now
picks
you're
up
the
right
king,
after it.
and you beat the dragon.
Yeah,
with one hit.
It's true, and
Spoilers.
which is all cool. Awesome. And it's awesome how well they transition into each other, because it is literally like the next day.
Yes,
right. They're playing the same game, and they immediately switch now to the superhero game.
Yo, Carbon, I thought we were done playing superheroes.
Yeah, but in the first game, let's see some big differences.
No, I can't for the future.
Yeah, it's true. And that all like starts to compound as the game goes on.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of there are story elements that are good, but I really prefer the story in the first one. I think the first one, and I don't know how much it has to do with the first game really pulls from everything from South Park previous to the game. Like from like the very beginning, anal probing. That's like season 1, right?
That's
the
episode
one.
Episode,
yeah.
It's
It's
episode
like,
1.
It pulls from all this stuff from the very beginning of South Park to the current date of that game. And then so I wonder if there's this lack of content, because the next game kind of says, okay, we're going to start from our content and pick up from there. So they don't really reference back to any of that early South Park stuff. You just get everything from the seasons after that first game came out, and which isn't nearly as many. Right? So it's only like 3 seasons or 4 seasons that they're dealing with, as opposed to everything before that. So I don't know
Okay.
how much. And even me
and you've beat it though.
yeah.
How much of it is because like the first one was just like playing this awesome episode of South Park.
Yeah.
So how much is this one just playing just another episode? I mean, are you really just playing the next episode or?
I think you are as far as the games are concerned, but even that was something I was just gonna say that as far as South Park is concerned, there are episodes I still really enjoy that are happening now, but I prefer South Park from a few seasons ago as I compared to what they're doing now. It's not as favorite as it was back then, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I've grown up over the years, and it's like it's not quite as appealing to me. Yeah,
I don't think he
haven't,
has grown
right?
up.
Yeah, I haven't at all.
I was like,
That's not it. But I feel like it's kind of burning itself out a little bit, and the game kind of has a little bit of that feel to it. For me, it definitely takes on more of a strategy RPG role as opposed to such a classic RPG role to the game.
Strategy,
Like a strategy RPG, like Harvest Moon. Did you ever play that? That's the biggest one I think I did, where you have like
farming.
no, that's not
Like
the
literal-
farming one, is it?
no.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Harvest Moon?
Maybe I'm saying the wrong
Isn't that
name.
what,
Something Moon. It's an RPG
Moon.
game. You know how you get RPG games where there's like a grid system and you can move so many spaces
Fire Emblem,
and
like
like
Fire Emblem.
yes, Fire Emblem has that, but those are like a strategy
XCOM.
RPG,
Didn't
right?
Symphonia have that too?
I
It's
don't
almost like that
think so.
tank
That's more
game.
real time fighting.
Yeah. Zysteria definitely had that.
Yeah. So that, well, and then there's some where it's like you just like your turn based, more like your
Yeah.
Final Fantasies or whatever, right?
Which
Which
is what I-
is
Okay.
more the first game.
Yes.
So, which is more what
really
I care
weird.
about. The second one they go, which I think in their minds they're thinking this is an extra element we can add to that fighting
So
part
they're
of it.
just trying to evolve. Like, is it entirely like a grid and you're moving your?
Oh yeah, totally
It's
is.
totally a grid, and you
And-
have moves that like
Look,
that will
I didn't
grid
see that.
forward. Like your moves will attack like the next 3 grids ahead of you, or you have one that'll track the next 3 grids across from
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
parallel to you, right? So that's completely how the game is. It's not like the first one that way.
One thing though to note about that is the counterattack or the absorption, the nullify button is totally present now. The other one didn't have that. The other one was all about just you had to know the timing.
Well, it would give you the ring under the character. It would have this like
Yeah.
ring that would come up, and you'd have to hit it. The one I don't like is the offensive side of that, where you're offensively attacking. I like the little shines on your weapons, which is another thing in the game. There's no weapons in this game. You can't buy. I liked how in the end when I beat that first one, I looked like Hasselhoff. Right, I went and got the nose job. I had like the super elite samurai sword because ninjas are
Yeah.
badass. Of
course.
And I could like bleed damage and do all this stuff. Like my guy was super equipped and it was awesome. And in this one, you can't get weapons, so I was kind of bummed about that. There's
Really?
there's just abilities. In this one, you get artifacts, which you could still do on the other one, where you could like enhance your weapons and things. But in this one, you only get artifacts to enhance your guy. It's less about your level in the game still matters, but the artifacts are what gives your kind of your team and overall ranking as far as how you'll compare to everybody else. So even if your guy's a low level but you have badass artifacts, it still ranks you up. So it's kind of interesting how they did that. I was less of a fan of it. I enjoyed seeing my guy with the weapon. Like when you get a new weapon, he's
Yeah.
physically holding
Yeah.
that weapon or changing his costume and stuff.
Which is something I really do appreciate.
In most games, like
Yeah.
like even the other game I'm playing with this, is,
I hate games where, okay, take it back. I love a lot of the games that have that, but I appreciate when a game has, you change your armor changes, your physical appearance
Oh,
changes.
totally,
Yeah.
right? And like I'm playing Shadow of War. That's the other game I'm playing right now. And in that, whenever you get a different costume or a different sword, it's a different outfit
Yeah,
you're wearing and a
exactly.
different sword that's on your like that's super
That
cool.
just
I
should
love
happen.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It
Especially
should.
doesn't carry into cutscenes. But
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And like with Shadow of the War, one thing I like about it is there's no put it behind you and it just disappears. Mm-hmm. It's there.
that's cool. Yeah, like Dark Souls.
There's no
where
like
you just
butthole
pull a
storage.
giant-
Exactly.
system. Yeah.
I thought we weren't going to say it was butthole storage. I thought we were just going to imply that it was.
It's butthole storage.
Yeah,
that's
it
why
is.
it's a weapon wheel.
In
people.
Metal Gear Solid 5, there's like I think you keep everything on your back, or like
Yeah,
you
no-
have a rocket launcher and sniper rifle.
Well, no,
And it's like-
you've got your sniper rifle on your back, and then you've got your main weapon strapped across your front, and then
Yeah.
you've got your holstered weapon on the side.
And
Yeah, you
I
get
like
so many
that
slots.
consistency.
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
always there on your character. I also agree. It's a little stupid thing to really care about, but it's cool that it's this extra element in the game, right?
So I looked it up, and I'm gonna, just in case anyone's confused, it's not exactly like Fire Emblem. It's like 2D Fire Emblem. So it's still, it almost, if you saw it without the grid, it would almost look like a turn-based strategy game, or like a regular one.
Yeah.
Until we start moving, I guess. But so, okay, do those like ability cubes or whatever? What did you call them?
Ability cube. Oh, the artifacts.
Yeah. Okay. Do they? I don't know why I imagined cubes. Do they give you your superpowers, or how do you like decide that?
That's something else that I have an issue with the
Tesseract.
game. In the first game,
There. Boom.
in the first game, I felt like an RPG, the thing that motivates you when you play an RPG is that you want to level up and you want to meet all these different characters and stuff because they're going to equip you with new weapons. I need to be this certain level to unlock this ability or get this weapon. The new one, it doesn't really matter. You just get to a certain point in the story and Cartman says, first you start out and he's like, pick your superhero class, whatever you're going to be, blah, blah, blah. Here, pick from this
I
first
totally did
three,
Brute.
right? Yeah. And so you pick your superhero class. And then eventually as you come in the game later, you don't really do anything other than sit at the table. And he's like, what? Because you don't talk, right? He's like, what? What are you trying to say to me? Oh, you want to be 2 superhero classes? That's ridiculous. Nobody's 2 superhero classes. Okay, fine, new kid. You can pick another one. And then you can mishmash the abilities between those 2. And then at a random point again in the game, he says, a 3rd class? That's unheard of. Okay, you can pick a 3rd class now. And you can like now mishmash the 3rd class abilities,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know.
And it's like, there's no sense of accomplishment. There's nothing you really did in the story to validate why that's happened. You've just progressed to a certain point, right?
You didn't have to. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's almost like charity that they're just giving it to you as opposed to earning it.
Well, you
a
are
sense of
the
worth
king.
and earning it. I guess, yeah. By that point, right? You've been validated as this awesome new kid, but I miss that sense of accomplishment that the first one had. It's like I've earned these things, and this new one, that's kind of gone, and I missed it. It was unfortunate to me that happened. And no weapons. I want my guy to be holding his cool weapon that I unlocked, right? I want, if he's got the Master Sword, I want him holding the goddamn Master Sword, right? So to me, it almost seems more like they wanted these elements in the game, so they just found a way to just shove them in there, as opposed to making them relevant to kind of what's happening in the game.
So it doesn't
Which
make
means
your
like-
powers feel as special. You're like,
Yeah,
well, I
it's
just
like,
have all these other ones.
I don't have a
too.
personal attachment, and then you get bombarded with all these powers because I think each class has 3 kind of standard attacks and 1 super attack.
So
and you can just mishmash those.
what you
between all
just
these
told me
different
right there is it comes back to the Ubisoft Dropbox.
classes. Kind of, right? Yeah, it's
It's like, hey, we should have this. Oh, we'll put it in there.
which I'm gonna say I didn't do a ton of Ubisoft research, but these are both at the top of the Ubisoft game list for me.
Oh, yeah.
The Stick of Truth, for sure, the best South Park game ever made.
That 64 one though.
Yeah, right. The Fractured Butthole is a close second. It is a close second. It's not a far second. I know it's not saying much because it's only 2, right? But it's not a terrible game. I don't want to come across as that. I know I'm bashing it, but it's just really tough to capture that original drive and that original passion and experience that the first game had when you transition into the next one. It's like you need to have those elements to it and find a way to kind of reinvigorate them and make them fresh without doing it to the degree that you alienate what made people fans to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to. That's really oversimplifying it, I think, because I don't think it's an easy task to do at all. I think that takes real game design, development, and skill. And I don't know what happened with this one, but I think it's lacking some of that. I almost feel like it's a little bit of a regurgitation, right? If I had to put a score on it personally, I think I would give that first South Park game, I'd give it a 9. I think it's really, really good. I think it is the gold standard for what a South Park game can do. And as far as a fan of just RPG games in general, right? There were so many moments in that first game where I would be like, oh yeah, it's a South Park episode. That's right. This is awesome. It's so South Park. And then something would happen and it's like, oh yeah, it's an RPG game. Of course you get this element. That's so cool that they put that in there, right? Right? It's like that. All those moments kept happening for 20 hours. I kept getting those moments. It's so cool. And the second one, that didn't happen as much.
Really?
So that kind of bummed me a little bit.
I'm right in the beginning of it, so.
Yeah, and it's like, I just wanted more of those moments where it was like, we're not only acknowledging these South Park fans, but we're also acknowledging these fans of some classic gameplay.
I am a brute and have sweet egg carton armor though.
Yeah, well, and there's cool ones. You
that's
can't be a
funny.
Jew in this one. I was kind of bummed that there's no Jew class. But when your buddy that comes with you, who has like the power of diabetes, like he's awesome. Like there's still really offensive things in it like that, and I love it at the end when
Offensive. The very first thing you do is offensive. Pick your difficulty.
yeah, pick your skin tone, right? Yeah. Well, then I love
Oh yeah,
it.
this won't affect you in an actual combat. It's just everything else in life.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
And it's great. It really is great. It's just not
No,
as
it's
great in my
not.
book. Well, if you like South Park, it's great.
Yes,
Right? That's
okay.
what you want.
Where's South Park? It is.
Yeah. And I think so for this new game, I really think I'm gonna give it a 7.75. It's almost great.
Okay.
It's still good. It's totally good. That's the top end of good. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you because
Well, I haven't played it enough to like really score it yet.
yeah,
Well, and we'll report it again. It's not super long, like
Yeah.
right? It won't really take you a really long time to do it. And I will give you.
Yeah, but I'm playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Like you haven't played that forever. That's gonna ruin this game, by the way. I would stress to everybody out there, if you're the guy that goes through every single room, which I can be guilty of, and hunting down
Which is
everything
totally
I know you've
me.
been guilty of,
You really need to learn how to pour.
don't feel an urge
You really, really need to learn how to pour.
look
Sorry.
at it, worked out fine.
because it's soda, but he needs
Yeah,
to
I
grow
know.
up for when he's ready for beer.
Once you get something with a little bit more protein,
Protein.
says the guy sucking on balls.
I don't even know where I was gonna go with that now. I totally
Sorry.
lost my train of thought.
It sucks
fine.
to see a sequel not be as good as the first.
It really does,
Yeah.
which is what I want to segue into. What makes, I got it right here highlighted, what makes a good sequel?
I wrote a couple things. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I went to DigiPen, like I did like an
Yeah, no,
orientation
DigiPen is pretty
day.
freaking awesome.
And there's this guy there who made a bunch of games, and I talked to him, and he's like, basically, for when you think about what you want out of a game, he's like, you got to strip it down, strip that game down, strip it naked. Or he didn't say that, but in my analogy, you are cutting its flesh off and then cutting its bones off, and there's a little something inside there.
It's called Marrow.
Yeah, it's called Marrow, but it's also called the core of the game. So like he was like, Mario, what's the core of that? Jumping, right? If you can't do cool jump, if everything has to kind of revolve around the jumping, like the enemies, you jump on them, you jump over things, right?
Okay,
It's a lot
Mario.
of jumping. So every game has its kind of juicy center and what matters. And so when you're making the next one, or even when you're making the first one, you obviously have to think of that. But when you're making the next one, don't strip away from that. It sounds like that's what they did. They changed the RPG combat. They made the weapons, or they made you feel less, I don't know, special. Like nothing was earned as much. And I think that's kind of one of the cores of RPGs is like earning, and it's getting one thing and kind of sticking with it till the end and learning to love that one thing, and then being able to play it again, have a completely different experience. Like Borderlands, you could play Gunzerker, and your experience will be completely different from playing Zero, right?
Yeah.
And I
I wouldn't know.
or
Quality game.
So like Gunzerker, dual wielding guns, right? And then
I have two.
Zero, what?
You have to? You own it?
Shut up.
I think on 3. PlayStation 3, I think I have
No, you don't
Yeah.
own it.
The point is, you have to strip it down, and then I think you should really
No,
focus
seriously,
on
I think
that.
I do.
It sounds like they
Yeah.
didn't focus
I mean, you
on
don't
that.
own it because we can't play together.
And then you have to elevate that, and then just add other features like Mad Max, right? The first Mad Max, I think when people watched it, probably one of the best things they thought about it were, the cars are cool, right? The Interceptor, really cool. Those chase scenes, really cool.
Dude, the
So for
Interceptor
Mad
was
Max,
really cool.
yeah, for Mad Max
The last
2,
of the V8s.
they stripped everything back, made it all about the cars, and that was, I think that is like one of the, like it's the second favorite for
Yeah.
usually everyone. And the reason people didn't like Thunderdome is because they took away the cars,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what else is there.
The
It's
car,
not
the car,
Mad
the
Max.
car's there for the first 10 minutes, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
And then Fury Road, in my opinion, the best Mad Max, though I haven't seen Thunderdome, is the best because it's all about the cars and they elevate the cars.
I like the first
Yeah.
one. I really like the first
The
one.
first one isn't so much about the cars either, though. Like, cars are in it. Road Warrior is what made the cars
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
in Mad Max.
well, and
It is.
then you also like have to find your identity too. So I think they found their identity with the cars.
Yes.
Or yeah. But then so like the first raid had a lot of gun. I hate the first raid. I don't like it. And people think it's some people think it's better. It has 85% while the raid 2 has 80. But the raid 2 stripped everything back, went down to the coolest part of the raid, which was the hand-to-hand combat. They elevated that, and they also added a really excellent story. So you have to take that juicy center, make that better, and then add other stuff. And that's not.
It's so easy to say, but it's so easy to say.
So easy to say,
but it's not easy to do by any means. I think a lot of times game developers, they don't realize what those things are.
Yeah.
And so they just crank out this other game. It's Ubisoft so much in particular. They're one of the worst, just crank it out so we can make money next year games, right?
Yeah.
Or game companies. They really are. But yeah, to figure out what that is that drew people in and then improve on it is not easy to do.
I mean, it's South Park, though. Like, there's certain things. And, like, you just have to look at what did everyone like about this, make that better. What did
It's
they not
rude
like?
and crude. They nailed that.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and I think they tried to do it. They thought, we established this. We had all these classic RPG elements in it that people loved. We had all this
Shouldn't have
classic
changed
South Park stuff we loved. Let's try to amp up some of that RPG element. And I think when that happened, they kind of brushed over what made that element special and took away also a little bit from the South Park element of it, the storytelling side of it. Like, it is South Park. Again, it's awesome. I don't want to take away from it, but the storytelling of the first one is so epic and good with these little really awesome RPG treats, little pieces of candy that come along the way that satisfy you and keep you engaged. And I think by the second one, you're just kind of like, you're gorged out on all that stuff, and it's like you're ready for something a little fresh. And they just, I don't know, it's really hard to define what that is.
I don't think that's I don't think it's entirely true that you need to change it up. Like, the combat, they should have kept it. I feel like, even though I don't really like the turn-based strategy games, making
I just think it's a staple from our era, though. It really is.
Well,
and
this
it's
is
an adult game. Like, kids shouldn't be playing this because they won't get it. And there's,
maybe that's what happened is, like, with the Stick of Truth, clearly Matt and Trey have to be close to our age, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because the things that they're highlighting as far as an RPG game goes in the Stick of Truth, they're amazing. They're things that throw me back to a kid playing my PS1 and my PS2 RPG games, right? Like, these are the elements that were available at the time, and they do it in such an awesome way. And they're kids, so their comprehension of all that is already down at that level anyway, right? Which it just plays so perfect. And then maybe this
what
new
you said
one,
about that, though, they totally emphasize, at least in the first little bit that I've played of Fractured But Whole.
but it seems like they made a new genre.
That there is the kids and the comprehension of things.
yeah,
They totally emphasize that. I think more than they did in Stick of Truth.
and that totally might be true. But I think as far as us, those that are absorbing it, I don't know that maybe they were trying to cater to the people that are into the little bit newer RPG sort of style. They were adding different elements to it that it just didn't ring as relevant.
It doesn't seem
They
like
went
you
more
can mix
PlayStation
them.
2.
It looks kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Like, the grid, like, looking at the grid isn't as satisfying as looking at, like, the top-down view. Or, like, what was that weird tank game where you fight tanks with rocket launchers?
Rocket launchers?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a weird game. My dad played it. But, like, that game, it's very much a, like, sort of a tactics-like game. And I don't really know if you can mix it that well, because it kind of looks gross. Like, it looks like it should just be a turn-based strategy game. Like, what was wrong with that?
It's
Right?
like,
And they can add
in
to
a way,
that.
it's kind of
I
like
mean,
playing like
change
3D chess, right? Like, or the digital version, a chess game.
Yeah.
It's like you've got this grid and this board, and you're so refined, but yet you're in this 3D world, and it really limits your movements and all that. But again, I've played games that are that way, that do it really, really well, and they're awesome to play. But I think if it wouldn't have been for the first game, the second game, I mean, hands down, it would be the best South Park game ever, right? It just would be. It's only because this first game existed before it that I have that to compare it to, that I think it suffers a little bit. It's and again, I feel like we're so summarizing it. I want to really emphasize, I think it's probably the hardest thing to do.
Okay, another thing too, the first one, and granted, because it was sold and then caught up in legal battles and everything else, it was like, what, 10 years into development?
Yes.
How many times did it get rewritten in that 10 years, though?
Yeah,
how many times
who knows?
how many times do they go back and say, oh, hey, we can change this, or we can change this? They're not going to have that much of time to reflect on what's been done.
It's true.
I mean, I don't know if you're not much of a reader, but Stephen King's writing has changed immensely from the beginning to the end of some of his story sagas and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like what he's changed into, but I didn't pick him up really heavily until after that. So I really totally appreciate the changes that he's made.
Yeah.
You know, and how much of that we just can't get that much of a change from.
Well, and I think to that point, I think that's a credit to the Fractured But Whole, that if as the series has grown and transitioned into a new thing in these later seasons, the game has also done that, and you've been a fan this whole time and want to grow with it, then maybe that does make it better for you, and it's awesome. I'm not that fan. So personally for me, that's why maybe it didn't impact me that way. But I think that's completely a valid point, that if you've grown with it, maybe the game should grow with it also, and you can appreciate that side of it. Not so much for me, right?
Well, I think if it's good change, it won't matter. Like the new God of War game, I'm open to it. I mean, obviously, I grew up with the only style of God of War games there has been, the third person, a lot more cinematic looking, like big spectacle, and this seems like more intimate, and I'm interested in it. I'm very interested.
That's kind of like the first
excited.
one, though. The first one I think is more.
No, but like
it
the
is the
camera
most
right here
intimate
where you
of them.
control, right?
What do you
Because
mean?
I mean, in the first one, there's big grand Well,
okay.
I hope there's big.
There's
grand
got to be
events.
though. Well, and there's even those in the trailer though.
Yeah.
When he's fighting he tells the kid to stay back
Well,
while
I
he
don't
goes
think
to
he
do
fights the
whatever.
snake, but like that's a big change. But I have faith that it will work. Even like, of course, I would prefer the other one, but I won't knock it till I try it. The thing is like you can't say that. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit, right? You're saying, "Oh, I prefer it this way," but it's like it can change. It just has to be like really good.
Oh no, it can, and I agree with you that it can change and be different. But like when I was trying to go through my list of games that have sequels and what are really good, a lot of those went into like 4 or 5 games, right? Like God of War was one of them, and they were also on my list of crappy ones. Because there's a game in there that sucks. Like Infamous, I think, is such an amazing example. That first Infamous game is such a testament to the era of when it came out. It's limited by the hardware it came out on, but the idea and the potential behind it is so awesome, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Infamous 2 did nothing but capitalize on that and gave you everything you wanted from that first game, just totally laid it out there. The DLC is awesome. The game itself is awesome. And then the second game... or for the third one, the Second Son, something happened, and it's unfortunate. Like
they made it less superhero-y.
But now it's been branded as that, which is unfortunate because
Edgy teen.
Well, and anybody like this crowd that's the big fan of the Fractured But Whole, I wonder how many of them have played the first one, right? Like how many people now that have jaded over Second Son, how many of them will go back and play the first Infamous or Infamous 2, which Infamous 2, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best sequels of all time. Like that game, it
of the
does,
best superhero games.
It does everything a sequel should do. It really does. It's everything you wanted from that first game.
Yeah.
Just laid out on a platter for you. It really is. It's such a good game. But there were so many other ones that came across, like GTA. We talk about GTA all the time. There's so many amazing GTA games, but then then 4 came along, and it was just to shut us up, right?
Yeah.
Because here's one, because it's been so many years. You can't fly? What? I was able to put a jetpack on and go to 4 different islands and eat food and get fat and then work out and get
in
buff.
Andreas.
And like in Andreas, which was right before it on the system before that. And now you give me this garbage fest on the next system that should be able to handle more
I don't know
than
that I've actually played 4.
Yeah, it's like it's weird how that all happens.
And the coloring is really drab and boring. It's just gray all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Where does 4 take place?
New York. Or
No, Liberty City.
Yeah,
it goes
sorry.
back to
It's
Liberty
back
City.
in Liberty City? Yeah, I definitely didn't play it then.
Yeah. It's just
'Cause
it's
I
unfortunate when it
I went
happens.
from Andreas to 5.
Yeah. The like what's also I think like BioShock. BioShock I think is an amazing series. I think 1 is great because you play from the perspective of the newcomer to this subterranean world, and then part 2 you get to play as the guy who has been forced to be in that subterranean world, right? So you get that other perspective. It's awesome. Then the third one, garbage. I don't like the BioShock 3 at all. It ruins it. It takes it out of the world.
That is my only exposure to BioShock, though.
Is the third one?
The Infinite.
Yeah.
I do appreciate though how they were like, how they did do it in a different place, right? Because I think it's recapturing the wow, this is a cool place, right?
I don't want to say development of the world, general control of the character, the look of the place. I appreciated Bioshock Infinite for that.
Yeah.
But it was more shitty shoot bang bang.
But
It just the world didn't matter. Like the world mattered so much in those first two. Like
But I
it
was
was
just
so
gonna say,
ominous.
I'd say, I don't know how many arcs there are to the story or whatever, or chapters to the story, but I want to say I made it maybe 3 chapters, and I just lost interest in the game, though. So
Yeah.
It's a really tough call. Like Uncharted's on my list of one of the best games ever as far as storytelling. It set a gold standard for making this cinematic, awesome adventure as far as a video game's
all
concerned,
the way through 3.
right? Yeah, it really all the way through 3. 1, 2, and 3 I think are amazing, and they take
And
each
there's-
one to that next level. And then
there's
4 happened.
Clear growth in every single one of
Yeah,
them.
and then 4 hit, and it's the same thing.
And now 4, I liked 4. I liked a lot of things they did it until I played Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Once I played the new Tomb Raider, no, they came out around the same time. The new Tomb Raider is what 4 should have been.
Yeah, it's like there's elements in 4 where they tried to like this is the next gen one now and it's like leveled up, but there's such half-assed attempts to implement those things. It's just like it took away from it. And again, for me personally, it brands the series now as that series. It's too
I don't
bad.
know.
Like I'm not
Okay, the
the
one
new
thing
one was?
4
Did you
the
play
one
the
thing
new one?
4
yeah,
did
I played 4.
the one thing 4
Or
did
no,
do is it clearly set up and wiped the slate clean and starts you out with, hey, we've got a clean setup now for a new character and a new set of stories.
At the end.
No, that's what, at the end. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That is the one thing 4 accomplished very well.
But
Instead
at the
of-
same time, also what it accomplished was discrediting all the characters before that because I don't give a crap about them throughout that whole game until the end sequence of that game. Like those guys deserve a way better send off than what they got at number 4.
Okay, I will give you that.
Right? Like that's what I mean. It's like I've grown through games 1, 2, and 3 with these characters. Yeah, they're gonna do their cliche things. I don't care. I love them for who they are. And then in 4, that just got pushed to the wayside because we're waiting for this climactic ending and whatever, right? And it's too
It's only
bad.
the worst of it, unfortunately. But
Yeah. I kept running into that where it was like this sequel's so awesome, but then 2 games later they ruined the franchise with this
Yeah.
other thing and it taints it with this bad thing. It's like too much of a good thing, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
now when I think of Infamous, I think of Second Son, but then I think back to 2, and 2 might not hold up that good now. The more I think of 1, I'm like, oh god, 1 does not hold up.
No, but
But
1 was the gateway drug
That was
to
my
the
first
Infamous.
PS3 game I played, and watching that next gen, like when it explodes, and it was so cool. And like the second one, like it was
It
this
did
whole
that
emotional ride.
exactly what you were talking about like cutting down to the meat of what it was
Yeah.
and then amplifying it.
And then okay, so a lot of these, I think the problem is that they forget what made it what made it good. Like BioShock Infinite, I think it forgot kind of the more creepy, crawly, like you're kind of scared to go around and yeah, you're just
Yeah, you were
Bang,
just
bang, bang.
waving
yeah,
guns and
it
shooting
was
around.
very clear and very clean.
Second
Yeah.
Son.
There was shooting, but there wasn't a whole, at least as far as I got, there wasn't actually a whole ton of shooting at the point in time that I got into it.
Yeah, it's
There was still quite a bit of story done.
It
Yeah.
gets more shooty. But Second Son, the characters that you get the powers from, and 2, they were like mattered, and having to portray 1 at the end, that sucked.
yeah.
That was really depressing. And okay, I am kind of getting annoyed about the whole you can only choose 2. I hope the next one, which of course there's going to be, has more than like that many choices. But like the characters you meet in Second Son don't matter, and they're there for like 2 seconds and they're gone. And it's like, and it also made it less like grand superhero. Like the beginning when you fight yourself from the future, going back to the past to save you from the thing that you fight in 2, and it's this whole climactic like almost building up like a comic book. Like it felt like a comic book. Second Son just felt like this. Oh, they're superheroes. It's like it didn't feel
I
special
haven't played
anymore.
Second Son, so I
Yeah.
can't.
didn't
It
feel like a
feels like
comic
number
book.
1. It almost feels like a step backwards to me where it's like, we're just going to highlight what the system can do, but not worry about the game content.
It's a
right?
beautiful game, but like, and the powers feel so fun to do. It's just you don't connect to the characters
don't
of the
care.
world,
Yeah.
right?
Which I think is what happens. You stop caring.
Like,
after a
whoa,
while.
it's Seattle, but you're not fighting this crazy religious guy or this crazy cult guy who's a conduit the whole time. I don't know. Yeah. Point
Yeah.
is, not,
I think
not as good.
I have on my list here of bad ones that I know that you will agree with. The classic that I think everybody will agree with is Battlefront.
Oh yeah,
How big of a
God.
step backwards did Battlefront take?
it was just
They
an
took-
arena shooter. It's an arena shooter, and that
Totally.
is it.
It's just
Reskin.
Battlefield.
Yeah.
just because whoa.
It's just
And
not.
it's just
Yeah, but
EA.
is Battlefield even that stripped down?
No, I don't think so.
I think Battlefield there's even more to do.
Yeah, but it's like it's in the style of like a big. I don't know, like
Yeah.
playing Battlefront 2. The graphics are so like it's all really dark, but like going back to Jabba's palace and going to all those fun maps, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this huge, 5-year plan where, it's like Stalin.
But
It's like
really-
they're Stalining us. We're poor Russian farmers. They're 5-year planning us. They're stripping us of our money. Instead of just giving us a good game, a good country, go America!
His balls are going right to his head.
Communism,
Yeah, they are.
down with communism. Capitalism.
I do want to give. So I have some bad ones
What
I've
was
wrote
that?
down here. I know you're also a fan of it, but I think Katamari. Katamari is a game that has really suffered from what that original game was, and that if you want to have the
I liked
most,
forever.
but the most stripped down, just bare bones game is Katamari. The whole point is you're this weird little alien guy who just rolls crap up. That's the whole first game. It doesn't matter. Roll up as much as you can. As soon as the next games come out, they find a reason to implement all these other elements and make the puzzle more elaborate. Now you can only roll up this thing, or you can roll up these things, but they're all flammable, so don't catch on fire
Oh
while
my
you're
God,
rolling
those
up. It's
missions
like
sucked.
that's what I mean. It's like there's so many more of that kind of. You're taking away from what
Yeah.
made it fun. The whole
Well, but
reason
there
why
was
it's
a lot
fun
of, like, the
is you
big-
just roll crap up.
Yeah.
Those missions are the fun ones still, are the ones where you just
Yeah, I
roll
don't-
crap up.
No, you know what you do? Get Katamari Forever if you can, because I guess they're kind of rarish. But you you go to the level where you have to roll up the key and go to space. You just set a kid on that level for hours, and they will have fun. It doesn't even matter if they're doing it right. It's just the fact that they don't.
Because that's what's
and you
fun
set
about
on,
it.
like,
Just roll crap
Eternal
up.
mode. Yeah. Like, no one wants to, like, I'm like, oh god, I have to play the level where I have to water everything. It's like, that's not fun.
No.
I
I think that is to me that was the clearest cut breakdown of what makes a bad sequel. You're avoiding what made that game fun to begin with.
yeah.
It's so basic and so awesome. Just stick with that. And they didn't do it. Also for me was Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver 2 sucks. It's garbage.
I've never played 2, but
Yeah,
I
I know.
loved.
I
Soul Reaver.
love the
Those-
first one.
No, I think I'm thinking Legacy of Kain. Is that where you're a vampire with Soul Reaver?
Yeah, Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver is that. It's
Yeah.
called Legacy of Kain
Oh,
Soul
okay,
Reaver.
okay.
But they came out with a part 2, which was on PlayStation 2, and I thought
Yeah.
I waited all through PlayStation 1 to finally get 2. And when it came out, I was like, these are such the cheapo elements of the first one that is not what. Yeah, you do what you did, but it's not what made it fun.
Yeah.
Right. And they missed out on that. We talked about Infamous, BioShock, GTA, Uncharted. Market Cree, which I think is one of such an art piece
play that
game
game
for
again.
PS2. The second one's garbage. I don't like it at all. It's not worth it. Same sort of thing. They missed the boat. Beautiful Joe's that way.
That was a fun game.
Isn't it
Right,
like a?
but the second one, it's like they miss it. They try to. I don't know what they do, but they try to make it more than it needs to be, and it just doesn't. It's so simple but
you-
awesome.
Beautiful Joe reminds me of Gurren Lagann so much.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, just like it's over the top. It's
Yeah.
just over the top, super cliche action. It just
Yep.
is, and they take away from that. One of the other ones that is the people that made No Man's Sky, right? I think
Oh,
it's Hello
really?
Games. They made Joe Danger, which I think is such it is such a sweet tribute to what made Excite Bike amazing. It's so awesome. It's such a fun game. And then they made Joe Danger 2, where suddenly now you're on like different movie sets as a stunt driver and all this.
Oh.
And it was like, just give me more levels. That's all I need. Just give me the expansion pack for Joe Danger. And they tried to add all this other flower crap to it. And so
Have you ever played those games? They're really simple games. You're just on the bike, and you have to like turn it and not die. And it's really hard. I think that's
just like kind of side scroller as you go up.
yeah,
the
but
different
like
things.
there's all cool flips, and I think
Yeah.
it is the evolution of Excite Bike. I think it.
That's
Yeah,
like
it's called
Joe Danger.
ATV,
Joe Danger's that way.
ATV
What are
Off-Road
those
Fury.
are really
Yeah.
popular games, but they like. I don't know what they're called, but it's like weird stunt. I don't know. Someone's gonna yell.
Joe Danger is amazing, and when you play Joe Danger and then play No Man's Sky, you will have more of an appreciation for No Man's Sky because that's the same company. Like to
Oh.
make Excite Bike and then make what they made is insane. Like that's a whole nother topic, but it is. The thing before we
Screw
run
that
out of
game.
time, I do want to talk about something because I feel like I talk so much crap about this company. And I constantly have something negative to say. And I have something really positive to say. I think Nintendo is the shining example of taking the core of what makes a game fun and adding extra elements to it and doing it again.
Mario 64.
yeah.
Boom.
Right? I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
all the Mario is such a good example of it. I think Zelda's a good example of it.
Some Marios are just totally the same, though, and that bugs me.
Well, and they can't, right? They totally can be.
Yeah, but they're not
But there's
deviating.
new elements to
Yeah.
it. They found a way to amp it up in this new way, which is really cool. I think that like Star Fox was a classic one. Like we all played it on 64, but nobody cared on Super NES, right? It's like that was one that they took what was the cool and they made it awesome again. The other one that I've talked about so many times is Metal Gear Solid. I think to me, Metal Gear Solid is that gold standard. Every game is different, but it's so Metal Gear Solid at the same time. It's like
4 to 5 is like, what?
yeah. Well, and I think as games keep coming out and as we struggle to come up with new games instead of just regurgitating and coming out with 4 and 5 and 6 of this game, I have more and more appreciation for Metal Gear Solid, for the way that you can play one Metal Gear Solid and play another one. They're drastically different, but you'll be so familiar with so many things in that game.
Yeah.
Like to capture that it's in a way it's kind of mind blowing as far as the game development side of it goes. Like they didn't alienate fans and they captured what made it important.
Very much. And how much do you think that was because they gave Kojima as much free reign as he had, though?
Yeah, maybe, right? I'm really curious about this Death Stranding. I want to know what's gonna happen with that, right? So, and again, I don't think there's an easy answer. I think we're really summarizing and making this sound really simple, but I think it's probably the hardest task. I feel that way about Castlevania, right? We've talked about that. Castlevania, the series, it's pretty much an extended trailer for a normal series, and it was so highly revered and people really loved it. There's so much pressure on that guy to make a real legitimate like 10 to 12 episode series now and have it do everything that first one did, but now throw some polish on it. It's like,
I'm excited to see what he does, though.
no, I totally
think
am
it's
too,
gonna
but
happen.
but
I'm
there's
excited.
that's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
It really is to maintain that. So I don't envy it, but at the same time I can't wait to get my hands on it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's a really tough thing to do. Two that I want to make note of. Speaking of Metal Gear Solid, I don't care what you guys say. I'm still gonna try playing it. It's gonna be the first
Oh my god.
Don't
the first
support
Konami, the 1st Konami departure. I gotta try it, dude.
Okay. First of all, it's not gonna be doesn't have Kojima.
Yep.
That's a negative for me. And second of all, it's a zombie game. I don't give a flying about zombie games at all.
I don't support Konami's personal
I just
tactics.
don't care about zombies anymore at all.
I'm gonna check
I am
it out.
so burnt out on zombies. I
The
don't.
Dead Nation game. If they made a sequel to that,
Well, it comes out. We finally got a date.
Okay.
So February 20th next year, we got a date. We're gonna get Metal Gear Survive. I'm gonna try it. I think it's gonna be cheap. I've heard that it's supposed to only be like $20.
Okay.
So, and we can play it online. And
So it's a
fun.
demo.
I might do it. Yeah, right. It
and
might be a glorified
it's just
demo.
a bunch of reused assets.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
It might be, but it also might be the terrible parts of everything we're talking about with these sequels,
Probably.
right? It totally could be. The other one that I'm a
God.
sucker for, and I also say it's one of those ones that I always get the game, but I don't want to, and I tell myself I'm not gonna, and then it comes out and I do. Dragon Ball Z, right? It's like
Okay,
Spider-Man.
The Fighter Z does look kind of cool, though.
It looks like Capcom with Marvel vs. Capcom, but with DBZ over the top of it.
Yep.
Which in my book is actually like win-win, right?
Yes.
Because I love both those things.
I'm gonna add two crappy things. Metal Gear Survive, the single player has to be played online. Because
I was under the impression there really wasn't a single player. Like it's about playing.
no,
online.
it has to always online, no matter
Yeah.
what. And Dragon Ball Fighter Z, the season pass is pretty expensive, I think. And if you get the collector's edition, it does not come with the season pass.
That's pretty
Which is-
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that also happens with Wolfenstein 2. Oh, which I hope is going to be a good game. Please be in my portion.
We'll see if that makes it on your sequel list. You have to keep us
I
updated.
have a quick question to ask.
All right, make it
Okay,
quick.
and I was-
because-
real quick before that, we get Dragon Ball Fighter Z. We finally got an official date, January 26th.
Sweet.
Okay.
If you could make one sequel to a game, so like any game that would, like just one came out of, what game would it be, and what would you add? So I would say Horizon Zero Dawn, obviously going to happen. I would add everything can be mountable, a bigger world and mythology. I want to be able to explore past the east, west, north, and south. I want to go to like completely different area. I want to see if there were other ways they dealt with, the 0-day threat. Like if it wasn't just, the Gaia and everything. I want to see if they had like other plans and other civilizations that survived. Like I'm really interested to see what happened to the rest of the world, right? That's what I want from Horizon 2.
Do you have one?
I'm kind of put on the spot in that. No, I do not have anything at the moment.
I was gonna say it's so tough to say because anything I would say that to is because I have such an affinity for the original, and I'm afraid to say make a sequel because of how much I love the original, and I'm scared because of what sequels do.
I'll say everything that I can think of right now has a sequel already. So
Or it's coming out, like Last of Us has a sequel that's coming out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well then maybe
I was almost thinking it's a weird one because I think the company in general, their games are kind of like a sequel of each other, but I would actually be cool if they quit remaking Shadow of Colossus and just made another one. Give me new Colossi, whatever it's called, and quit re-upping their resolution and whatever, and just give me like another 10 to play. You don't need to even change the gameplay. Just maybe modernize the controls so I'm not, going back to my archaic, square is enter and like all these other things, right? Or, but just give me more of them to fight, and I would totally, if they came out with like 10 more to fight and it was $20, I would totally be on board to get that, as long as it was just what that first one was. And that's such a stripped down game.
I love that game still.
Yeah.
No,
So
Colossus DLC. That's what they're gonna do.
right,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what
I
it would
would still
essentially
buy
be.
it because it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But it's tough to say, I think, because again, I love that initial experience so much and it can be tainted so easily.
Yeah.
It's a really tough call. I don't envy game developers for having to do it. I don't. I think there's a lot of pressure, and I also wonder how much of that is the pressure, right? The pressure to maybe the first one, like you said, with the South Parks, maybe that first one had all these years of time to make, and there's all this stuff because there's no pressure.
Duke Nukem had 16 years, and look what that piece of crap turned into.
Well, but then now that first one's a success. Suddenly now you have all this pressure from the company that we need another one in 3 years. Yeah, that one took you 15 or 10 years to make. You got 3 now to make that same game, right? There's all that pressure there.
What was my point though is originally when they were making the very first Stick of Truth, it was only a 3-year
Yeah.
thing. But I just wonder how many rewrites it went through while it was sitting. How many
Yeah,
things did they change?
and I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. They're both good. I really want to emphasize they are both good. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear what people think. If you have a sequel that you think, is the pinnacle of sequels, please let us know.
Yeah.
If you have a game you'd love to see a sequel made of, then please let us know. I'd love to hear that too. It's not I don't think it's an easy battle. It's a tough one. It really is.
I'll say this: as far as sequels go, though, the second Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider, awesome.
Rise of the Fall of the Planet of the Tomb Raider.
Sure.
There's a Planet of the Apes.
That's the third one.
Boom. There.
All right.
Quick thing. Jeremiah wrote the script for the episode, and for beer, it's like Finger Gun Session IPA, and for it just says Jax. It says 2 blue balls. 2 hard, nubby, energy-filled blue balls with guarana. I'm gonna give this. I've been going down 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
2. I wish there was like a.
Keeping the 2.
How Angry Joe. Do you guys watch Angry Joe?
Huh.
He's a good reviewer, but every time he does it, it's like a whoosh, like a sound effect. 2 out of 10. I don't want to go too loud. It's terrible. It leaves an awful taste in your mouth. This weird sherbet after, like the smell kind of gets in your mouth, and it's like it tastes factory produced, like it's some sort of sludge they just crank out. I'm imagining
Because it's a sludge that they crank out.
Yeah, it is.
And then they water it down.
It's like slurm.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
comes out of
I was
slug
thinking
butt.
the sludge they crank out of the ball. Okay. Point is, it's really gross. It's disgusting. I feel sick. But this next root beer is going to heal me, and I'm going to feel so much better. The sequel. It is going to
The
be
sequel. That's easy
Yeah.
to make a good sequel on that one, right?
Yeah, it's like making the sequel to
I think
the
that's
Raid.
the official lowest score we've ever had.
The 2?
Good.
Yeah.
Oh God, I
might
feel
be.
this
On a beer, I think, yeah. Turd. Give it a turd.
Turd.
All right, Jay. So
All right.
keep watching Psycho Pass. We're going to keep doing that.
Good show.
And the only other thing as far as next week is we're going to see Ragnarok.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Somebody's going to have to pick me up and drive me because I
Yeah.
won't be.
yeah. Talk about sequels and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
I give Marvel huge credit for that. They've done really good.
It's,
Keeping the franchise going.
yes.
Yeah. So, to all the nerds with
Roll the
your
fuzz.
sad little empty glass.
It's got more than a
What a
drip.
dude. That's taking one for the team there, buddy.
Yeah.
Bottoms up. Let's
get Nerdbuzzed.
Talking about beer, talking about nerd culture. You're on Nerdbuzzed. Marcus and Jeremiah. You're on Nerdbuzzed.
Stay tuned. Like, subscribe.
Let's get Nerdbuzzed.